Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Podiatry Business Podcast. I'm Lorcan O'Donnell, owner of More Practice Profits, Podiatry Patients on Tap marketing agency, and I'm a podiatrist and owner of a podiatry clinic. So today's podcast title is Cant Recruit a Podiatrist? My Simple Solution. And it's pretty obvious what I'm talking about here. So one of, if not the biggest frustration I see podiatry clinic owners having worldwide is staffing, recruitment and retention of staffing. In particular, we see this as a huge issue here in Ireland, in the UK and in Australia. There simply is not enough podiatrists for all of the work and all of the clinic owners that want them. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't recruit podiatrists, and that's not what this is about. And I have dealt with that before, how you make yourself attractive to staff, etc. And that is massively important for your recruitment system. However, it is true to say that there are a lack of podiatrists generally across the Western world, and as a result it's harder to recruit, and some clinics are finding it exceptionally hard to recruit, especially in more competitive areas and so on. It also means that staff are more frequently moving on from clinic to clinic, often over smaller things, because they know they can get another job in podiatry. One podiatrist in particular comes to mind who I know ended up having 5 jobs over a 9-month period, because every time they went somewhere something small wasn't perfect, so they'd move and they were always able to get another job because the employer would always take them on, even though the history showed that this person was not likely to stay. So what happens is, as a result of this, is there's a lot of stress on the clinic owner because they feel like they're on the constant hamster wheel of staff coming in and coming out. It's like almost like a revolving door of staff coming in and out, and this is not what they want. What they want is they want to make it easier to recruit. They do understand that recruitment takes work. You can't just throw an ad up and expect somebody to take your job and you can just throw anything at them. That's not the case. You've got to have a good product, you've got to have a good work environment, you've got to have a good culture and so on. But they want to make it easier for them to get people, and they want people to stay, and they want them to not, take the hump over small silly things and move because, or make demands that if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to move, because they know they can get another job instantly. And they don't want to feel that overwhelming stress of, I hope this person doesn't leave because I don't know if I'll be able to get someone else. And as a result, what's happening is they're having to make, they're making mistakes where they're making mistakes with regards to staffing and retention that ultimately leads to a bad business model and worse life for the clinic owner. So some of the mistakes that I see when it comes to recruitment is helicopter recruitment. So helicopter recruitment is when you need somebody, you go and you look for somebody. And then when you get someone, you turn everything off, and that's not a good idea. So essentially what you want to have instead is you want to be recruiting all of the time, and I've dealt with this in a previous podcast. You want to be building a database of potential people that you can reach out to at any point should you need it, because the worst time to start recruiting is the time when somebody actually is left or has just handed in their notice, and you've got no backup, no way to start to, you haven't done the legwork essentially in beforehand. Or another huge problem I see, or mistake I see being made, and it's happening an awful lot, is they simply throw money at the problem. Now, why I think this is a mistake is because what you're going to do is you're going to attract the kind of people who are only interested in what you have from a money viewpoint. Now, there's nothing wrong with people asking for more money. I get that, and it's important that you pay people a fair wage. You're not going to attract or keep people unless you do so. But paying well above where you should be paying simply because you feel like you're stuck is not a good way for you to run your business. Examples of that I see clinic owners is that new grads coming, and the new grads are demanding that they get the same wage as somebody who's working in the same clinic for maybe 10 years. Now I understand why the new grad is doing this, because they see the opportunity. I think it's foolish. I think it's very short-sighted. And when you say yes to this, What are you going to then say to the person who's then working for you for 10 years? Because they're going to go, well, why am I getting the same wage as somebody who obviously doesn't have the experience, hasn't put the time in here, and so on. And then what you end up with is you're going to piss that person off, or you're going to have to bump up their wage significantly, and it results in significant wage inflation and within your business, within your clinic. And you end up, in many cases, what I see is that the owner's pretty much broke, that the owner's making less than the staff. And I don't think the staff ever believe when I tell them this, but this happens frequently. One podiatrist I spoke to last year told me that on a good month they pay themselves £1,000 a month, and that it was heartbreaking. And if they'd closed the clinic and everybody had lost their job and they went and got a job in the NHS, they'd have made more money for the amount of hours they're doing. They're doing significant amount of hours. So ideally what you want as a kind of a guideline, if you're looking for, is you want your overall wage bill, including your admin team, to be between 40 and 50%. You want your costs of running your business to be between 20 and 30%. And you as the owner, assuming you're not just a one-person clinic, you've got more people than that, you want your profits to be at least 30%. If it's less than that, you're not really doing it right. Now, 25% of $1 million is much better than 30% of 100,000, but you ideally want to be around those points. And if you're paying out 60% of your turnover in wages to somebody, then there's not a lot left for you, and you probably find you'd have an easier life if you didn't do that, if you had less staff on a fairer wage, because it isn't fair to you, the owner, when you're working all those hours and they're getting all the profits. What is the point in that? And I understand why staff will want that and will ask for that. It's human nature, but it's also your job as the owner to look at it from an overall perspective, what's right for the business, and that is not right for the business. Another mistake I see is that they recruit almost any type of person. They'll just take any type of person that will come in, even if they're not the right fit, but they'll only do it in one profession. So they will only recruit podiatrists. They do not think that they recruit someone else. So let me tell you a story about a recent new client. Now, this recent client owns a podiatry clinic, and this client was working 60 hours a week because they were struggling to recruit. They had staff, but they didn't have enough, and someone had left, I think, recently, and they were having to fill the gap because it was just so busy. And they were worn out and they were exhausted. So they put up the ad, they started to look for a podiatrist. And what they got is they got new grads starting to apply. But the new grads were approaching it as in, you'd be lucky to have me rather than me being lucky to have them, which is absolutely fine. I have no problem with that. I understand that that's the case. But what she felt is that she was being interviewed by the staff rather than the other way around. And she felt trapped by that situation, because she could either say yes, take them on, and then end up working still a lot of hours because she had to generate the cash to pay the staff member. And what was the point? Because quality of life would be no good. And even still doing so, knowing that that staff member would probably just move on to the next available job that gave even more money. So what we did is we said, okay, we're going to look at this in a different manner. We're going to use my simple solution. And my simple solution is that you basically need a body that's going to come in and treat your patients, do a good job, get your patients better, and that your patients are happy with. The qualification is secondary to that. The patients don't care what the qualification is really. I mean, if they do, they would surely all come in and ask you, can you show me your qualification? Do you have a BSc? Did you get a first or a 2-1 or whatever? None of them do that. Now, I'm not dismissing qualifications, but what I'm trying to say to you is that at the end of the day, what you need is a body that's going to come in and treat your patients. And it does not have to be a podiatrist. It can be some other profession that can come in and help. So what we did in this case is we decided this was a heavy MSK clinic. We were going to start to look at the kind of clinician, non-podiatrist, who could treat MSK, who had an idea of MSK, and that we could train up, just like we would have had to do if we'd taken on that new grad. So we advertise for a physiotherapist, stroke athletic therapist, stroke massage therapist, that kind of thing. And we did it in a different manner to how typical podiatrists are being recruited at the moment. in the UK, and we ended up with 28 people looking for the job. 7 were really good. We interviewed 5, and we've just done a deal on 1 full-time staff member, an athletic rehabilitation therapist who is starting full-time on a very appropriate wage, a fair wage for them, but a wage that makes a sense to the business. Now, the benefits of this is that this person will be able to do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to the musculoskeletal issues. Maybe at this point they might not know everything from a podiatry perspective, how a podiatrist will approach it, but all of this will be fixed. All of this will be trained just like you would if you took on a new podiatrist or a podiatrist who didn't have maybe the training or the skill set that you needed to have. And the benefit for the staff, for this clinic owner, is that they are able to now cut their hours back to maybe 35 hours a week to begin with. They're able to take a breath, and the type of people that are applying for these jobs are the type of people who've maybe had a few other jobs elsewhere, know what it is to have a bad job, know what it is to have a bad employer, and also how important it is to have a good workplace, a good employer, and that money is not everything. Personally, in my clinic, I like to recruit good staff. I like to pay them a fair wage, but if I have somebody who comes to me and they're solely looking for just the money, it's all they're interested in, I won't take them on even if I need them, because I'll never keep them happy. So the benefit for this clinic owner is that they're now able to recruit. They're actually getting far more people looking for the job. They're getting better quality of characteristic of the person, as in they're more open to helping. They're not just hearing what's in it for me, but what's in it for you too as the owner and for the patients. And the clinic owner is now starting to feel like they're able to step off that hamster wheel, and the stress levels have dropped. And the benefit for the patient is that they're now able to get a mix of care, a mix of skill set that the podiatrist couldn't have before. And at the end of the day, the patient's main concern is, can you actually get me back doing what it is I'm not able to do right now? Now, if I think about another client of mine who is a physio based in the UK, and this physio runs a very niche physio type of clinic where they go to your home and they do a very niche type of treatment. And they have run a great business. But the problem with it is that it's a very niche type of staff member, and there's not many out there who necessarily going to want to work in that field or have the skill set for that field. So it's very hard for them to recruit people. And when they get them, they have to make sure to do their best to try and keep them long term. Because if somebody leaves, they as the owner have to keep stepping back in. And when they do so, they're working long hours, etc. Now, the solution for them is that we're looking at getting other professions to come in and treat the same database of clients, but with different things. So it's not that we need more people to treat that niche, but we're going to treat the same patient for their other needs. So an example is we're now going to have niche home visits for maybe more generalized physio. We're going to have a bricks and mortars generalized physio MSK business, and we're going to have a niche speech and language for these particular people. So we're talking about people that home visits who have complex neurological conditions, and in many cases they have speech and language issues, and there isn't anyone there to do that. So we have added into that a niche speech and language expertise, and on top of that, because that's going well, we're now adding in a general speech and language type workload. So instead of having just one particular type of physiotherapist that they can get with a very niche skill set, we've added in on top generalized physios, we've added in on top niche type speech and language, and we've added in on top generalized speech and language. So this is the plan over the next 6-12 months. And instead of a situation where this clinic owner maybe have a pool of at most maybe 100 potential staff that they could take on, they now have a potential pool in the thousands, which means that it's much easier for them to build a business that gives their clients and their new type of clients a really good quality of service that they feel proud of, and gives them, the owner, back their life, a better quality of life, and gives them the profits that give them financial freedom, which is the reason they started the business to begin with. It's not, in all of these cases, it's not that these clinic owners are looking to become multimillionaires or to just sell patients anything at all. They are really proud of what they do, and they want to give the best possible outcome. So the solution is to think outside the box, think outside of, well, I don't just need a podiatrist to treat my patients. I can get other professions to come and help, and I can also offer other services. So how are you going to do this? Well, it's a 6-step process. So step 1 is consider work that your pods are doing right now, or maybe you're doing, that you could get others to do for you. Very simple example, in the UK, in Ireland, it would be a foot health practitioner. Or maybe you're going to get a physiotherapist or sports therapist, etc., to come in and do the MSK type of work. If you have a FHP and a physio together, they end up doing pretty much everything a podiatrist can do. It might be 2 part-timers. Can you offer, then step 2 is consider, can you offer new services to the same type of clients that you have? So currently, if a patients are coming into you and they're only coming in for lower leg pain, those same people end up with back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain. Why can't you help them with that? And so on and so forth. Step 3, once you've figured out what it is you want to do and what kind of staff you're looking to attract, and what kind of service, is you look at the ideal outcome that it is for you as a business, and what does an ideal job applicant look like. So you'll write all this out, and we do all this in our coaching training. We help we have templates on how you figure all this out, so that when you meet the right person, the right applicant, that you know that that's the case, and you have all the questions you're able to do, makes the interview process much easier. Then you start your recruitment process, and recruiting is marketing. Okay, recruitment is marketing, retention is culture. But recruitment is making sure that you're attractive enough that you want people to raise their hand and come and work for you. Now, if you're only positive in your marketing is wages, well, then you're going to attract a particular type of person that you'll never really be able to keep happy. So it needs to be more than that. Okay, and we deal with all this in our coaching, and I've talked about this before. Once you've got your person, you've done the you've done the interview, and they've agreed and so on, you now need to learn you need to now train them, and you're going to train them to do the skill sets that you need them to take off of your hands or off of your podiatry team's hands. And we've dealt with this before. And then on the 6th step then is you're going to market this new service. So you're going to market this new person and or service, depending on what it is you decide to do, what mix you do. To begin with, you're going to do that by going simply to your database of past patients, because it's pretty much free. You can do emails and so on. And they are far more likely to say yes pretty quick, and it gets you up and running. Again, in our marketing service, we provide and we do all this for them. Once you've done that, what you'll then do is you'll then start to look at your outside marketing. So, for example, in my clinic where we have a physiotherapist working for us, we're changing the signage out the front. We have a new website. We've done Google ads. We're doing a little bit of Facebook ads, and we're going to build up that physio clinic. So now I will have a business where I'm able to have a pool of physios I can recruit and a pool of podiatrists. So I'm not just stuck with, I can only take on a very particular niche. We also have FHPs coming to work for us this year. So you're marketing that new service. So you can see 6 steps that you can follow to follow through this process and make your marketing or make your recruitment much simpler, much easier, and take the stress of the it's almost like the Hunger Games that's going on at the moment with regards to podiatrists. So to recap, you do not need to feel trapped by recruitment at the moment. You need to think outside the box. You need to think, well, at the end of the day, I'm here to provide my patients with an outcome. The patients aren't too concerned what your qualification is, as long as you're good at what you do and you're working within your scope of practice. And what you may need to consider is a mix and match of staff members, is what I'm urging you to consider. And don't feel that it's such a daunting undertaking that if you take someone on, you won't know how to handle them and so on, because there's lots of support out there. Make sure you have some recruitment or have some marketing in place to fill those people's diaries if you're doing other services, and start to reclaim your business, reclaim your time, and start to build financial freedom for yourself. So I hope this simple solution to recruitment, and it is simple, makes you start to think twice, that if I'm finding it difficult to recruit a podiatrist, maybe I should start to think laterally. So until next time, this is Lorcan O'Donnell, podiatrist, health business mentor and marketing agency owner, signing out.